It is I, Jonathan Reagan, D. Uncommon Voice, but Common Man, coming to you today live from Shadyside, Ohio, where I have more than a few things to say about Ozzie Gulliens' comments about Fidel Castro and in athletes getting involved in politics and politicians getting involved in sports. But I'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's review what Ozzie Gulliens had to say about Cuban dictator Fidel Castro. It's absolutely incredible. He said, quote, "I respect Fidel Castro." You know why? A lot of people have wanted to kill Fidel Castro for the last 60 years, but that explicative, and I think he meant son of a bitch, is still here, end quotation. And of course, we all know that Ozzie Gulliens is the manager of the Miami Marlins, and Miami has a very, very high density of Cuban refugees that have fled the communist dictator's brutality. And of course, the comments were uncalled for. But once again, I'm going to go out on a limb for Ozzie Gulliens because somehow, some way, after he apologized for these remarks, I'm beginning to think that the guy may be sincere. And you know why? Because a few years ago, when Sean Penn and Danny Glover and all these damn leftists that love Obama, by the way, went down there and visited Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez, Ozzie Gulliens actually called Penn a loser and told him that he should live in Venezuela for a couple years, but he flies back to Los Angeles in relative safety, knowing full well if he lived down there for 2 years, he would probably be shot. Something tells me that what Gulliens said was taken out of context, believe it or not. True, it was the wrong thing to say, but something tells me that Ozzie Gulliens may be a stand-up guy. Anybody that would say something like that about Hugo Chavez, Sean Penn, and Danny Glover, and then turn around and sing the praises of Fidel Castro, it doesn't make sense. And to me, it's beginning to look like this guy may have just said the wrong thing. If you look at the comment, he said he's respected him because he survived for 60 years. He hadn't been assassinated. Well, that makes sense, but of course it's the wrong thing to say. Now, Guillen has apologized for this, which he should, and he's been suspended for a few games, which he should, and that's the end of it. But it goes further than that, because these damn people get involved in politics, and they don't have to be. They shouldn't be. Just take, for example, now I'm going to tell you a story about another baseball manager that said something, but of course, you will never, ever hear this. What I'm about to tell you, you've probably never heard of. But a few years ago, Dusty Baker, now the manager of the Cincinnati Reds, was the manager of the Chicago Cubs. And when he was the manager of the Chicago Cubs, they play, of course, in Wrigley Field. And it was a hot, humid day. And in baseball, they give you the probable pitchers, the guy that's going to pitch that day. And the guy that was scheduled to pitch in a day game at Wrigley Field and a very hot, humid day was a white guy. And so, out of nowhere, Dusty Baker takes that guy out of the rotation and puts another guy in there. And that guy just happened to be black. And it was right before the All-Star game, and Baker was the manager of the National League. And so the sports reporters go up and ask Baker, why did he do this? And Baker says something to the effect that he took the white guy out of the rotation because black people stand up better in the heat and humidity than what white people do. After all, that's why they, white people, brought us here, meaning black people. That is exactly what he said, and nothing was ever said about it. Obviously, that's a racist comment, but because a black guy says it, it's no big deal. And of course, it was right before the All-Star game, and Baker was the manager of the National League, so we don't want to talk about things like that. Well, by God, I'll never forget about it, and that's why I tell you this, because it is incredible that these damn people in sports talk about politics. Look what they do with Tim Tebow. These damn people cannot stand Tim Tebow because he's a Christian. You and I understand that. Look what happened in the press conference with the Jets that he signed with. They're trying to goad this guy into talking about his faith, and he won't bite on it. But of course, you and I understand it's because he gets down on his knees and prays to Jesus Christ and God Almighty when he makes a good play. And they can't stand him. They hate this guy. And I guarantee you this, if he was to take a prayer rug out and throw it down and face Mecca and praise Allah for his good place, this guy would, mark my words, he would be the darling of it. It would show diversity in the National Football League. You know it, and I know it, but because he's a Christian, they can't stand him, and they want him to say something controversial. But Tebow's smart enough not to bite on this nonsense and get himself into trouble. He knows to keep his mouth shut about politics. He's smart. But while we're talking about that subject, I have a few things I'd like to say to our worthless president, who once again interjects himself in the world of sports. Now, in case you missed it, last week, our fearless leader, the man who is not a Muslim, decided that he would step in on this controversy at Augusta National Country Club, site of the Masters. Of course, they have a long-standing tradition of not allowing women into the club. And Obama, of course, has to step in and say, I think that women should be allowed into the Augusta National Country Club. Now, with that being said, Obama and you damn leftists, what in the hell are you doing? That is ridiculous. Not only that, but you get us all in trouble. Don't you understand that sports is the refuge of people like me and millions of other Americans? We want to see our sports, and we want to see them politics free. That's right. Stay out of sports. It's none of your damn business. You got other things to worry about. My God, Iran's on the verge of nuclear weapons and the economy's falling apart. And you, in order to try and get the women's vote, say something ridiculous like this, thereby be it known right now that you are not allowed in the man cave. That's right, Obama, you are verboten in the man cave. Also, your subscription to Hustler magazine has been canceled by Larry Flint. That's right, you have to give back your little black book that Bill Clinton gave you. Now give it back right now. Also, your membership in Hooters is hereby revoked. You can't go to Hooters anymore because you're going to get us all in trouble. That's right. You need to shut your big left-wing mouth before you get all of us men in trouble. That's right. Now, you can give your wife $2 billion of the taxpayer money, put her on Air Force Two and let her fly off somewhere for one of her endless vacations, and you get peace and solitude. But the rest of us can't do that. We have to live with what we have. And a lot of that does include going to places like the Augusta National Country Club, the American Legion in Shadyside, and our man caves, so we can get away from the little women. And you have gone and brought the plague of locusts down upon our head. Woe be on to you, Obama, for doing this utter nonsense. And you should be ashamed of yourself for getting us all in trouble. And let me tell you something right now. When Father's Day, June 17th, and when it gets here, and I have to go out and cut the grass and run the weed eater on a day I should be sitting on my porch drinking beer and enjoying the afternoon, it's going to be your damn fault that I have to do that because you won't shut your mouth about man caves and a man's right to have peace and solitude from women. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and call it exactly what it is. It is the Democrats' war on men. Until next time, this is your favorite conservative, Ronald Reagan, saying this right now. You damn politicians, stay out of sports, and you people in sports, stay out of politics, because